I moved to a quiet suburban neighborhood a few weeks ago. I had just turned 35 and wanted a peaceful place to focus on my graphic design work after my breakup. The neighborhood looked perfect, identical two-story houses and manicured lawns. I thought I would find some solitude, but I still can't shake what happened. The first few nights were normal. I unpacked during the day and tried to settle in, but on my third night, I woke up to soft thumping sounds coming from next door. I thought it was just my neighbors rearranging furniture. I tried to ignore it and get back to sleep. Maybe I should have paid more attention. As the week went on, those sounds didn't stop. They got worse. I started to hear footsteps at odd hours. There were muffled voices, like people were having a conversation, but I couldn't make out any words. Then I heard strange noises like laughter. It sounded like a child, but it was late at night. I found myself sitting up in bed, unsure if I should go check it out. I never did. It was weird. I never saw any kids outside, not even during the day. One night, I spotted my neighbor peeking out from behind the curtain. Their smile was faint, almost frozen. That made me feel uneasy. I wanted to wave and say hello, but something stopped me. I don't know why I hesitated. Maybe I was just tired, or maybe deep down I felt I shouldn't. The laughter kept echoing through the nights. I didn't know if it was childish or sinister. My heart raced every time I heard it. But still, I kept telling myself maybe it was nothing. Just an odd quirk of living in a new place. Then one evening I came home after a long day. I noticed the lights were on in the neighbor's window. I stepped closer, trying to catch a glimpse of what was happening. For a second, I thought I saw movement. Maybe someone was there. But when I leaned in closer to look, the curtain snapped shut. I felt a chill run down my spine. Did they see me? Every little moment piled up in my head, making me question my decision to move there. I didn't know if I imagined the laughter, or if that neighbor was just shy. My gut told me something was off. Then one night, as I sat in my living room, I heard laughter again. Only this time it was right outside my window. My heart raced. I froze, waiting for something to happen. Slowly I turned to peek through the curtain, but all I saw was darkness. Did I really hear it? Or was it just my imagination? The laughter stopped, but I still felt it lingering in the air. I felt heavy, like a weight was pressing down on me. I still can't shake the feeling that something is waiting just beyond my sight. I didn't want to stay, but I didn't know how to leave. This place was supposed to be my sanctuary, a quiet escape. Instead, it became a haunting reminder of what I wanted to leave behind. The following day, I decided to take a walk around the neighborhood. I thought maybe getting some fresh air would help clear my head. As I strolled along the identical houses, I focused on the lawns, so perfectly mowed and primped. It was eerie in its uniformity. I spotted a couple in their yard, tending to flowers. They looked friendly enough. I took a deep breath, approached them, and introduced myself. "Hi, I'm new to the area," I said. They smiled and waved back, but the conversation felt forced, like they were trying too hard to be polite. "Beautiful neighborhood, isn't it?" the woman said, glancing around. She had a hint of nervousness in her voice. "We've been here for years." "Yeah, I love it so far," I replied, fishing for something to talk about. "Just watch out for the kids," the man suddenly said. His tone shifted. "They can get a little rowdy." I blinked, confused. "Kids? I haven't seen any around." The couple exchanged a quick glance. "Oh, you'll hear them. They're around at night sometimes," the woman said, her smile faltering. "But don't worry, they're all good kids." I nodded, but unease settled over me again. I thanked them and continued my walk, trying to shake off the strange vibes. Their behavior didn't make sense. It was like they were warning me without really saying anything. Later that evening, the sun set, casting deep shadows across my living room. I hoped the laughter would stay away, but as darkness enveloped my house, I felt it creeping back in. I sat on my couch, my laptop open but untouched. I wasn't in the mood to work. Suddenly I heard it again. The laughter, clearer this time, echoed outside. It sent chills down my spine. I glanced at the clock. It was after 10. The shadows outside flickered in my peripheral view. I got up, my heart pounding. This time, I had to know. Slowly, I approached the window and peeked through the curtain. What I saw made my stomach drop. 2 figures stood in the yard next door. Children, silhouetted against the dim light of a street lamp. They were staring directly at my window. Their faces were indistinct, but I could feel their gaze piercing through the glass. I wanted to blink, but my eyes were glued to the sight. Then one of them raised a hand and waved. The gesture was innocent, but something about it felt wrong. I backed away from the window, my pulse quickening. As I did, the laughter grew louder, echoing through the night like a taunt. I turned on every light in my house, hoping to drown out the sounds that haunted me. Hours passed, and the laughter finally faded, replaced by an unnatural silence that left me unsettled. I had to figure out what was happening next door. I couldn't ignore it any longer. I needed answers. I decided to confront my neighbor the next day. But deep down, I sensed I was delving into something I might regret. The eerie laughter replayed in my mind, taunting me as I prepared for the next encounter. As I lay in bed that night, the weight of unease pressed deeper onto my chest. I knew there was more to discover, and I feared what I might find. Little did I know, tomorrow would unveil the truth, a truth I was not ready to face. The next morning I woke up feeling the weight of dread settle in my stomach. I had to talk to my neighbor, but the idea made my hands shake. The whispers from the couple echoed in my mind. What did they know about the kids? Were they safe? After breakfast, I forced myself to step outside. The sun was bright, illuminating the pristine lawns, but I found no comfort in the beauty of it all. I took a deep breath and walked over to the house next door. The garden was neat, flowers arranged in perfect symmetry. It looked too perfect. I approached the door and hesitated, wondering if I should knock. What if they didn't want to talk? Or worse, what if I uncovered something I couldn't handle? I raised my hand and knocked lightly. The sound felt loud against the backdrop of silence. After what felt like eternity, the door creaked open. A woman stood there, fidgeting with her apron. Her eyes shifted nervously, and she forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Hello, can I help you?" "Hi, I began, but my throat felt tight. "I'm your new neighbor. I wanted to ask you about the kids." Her smile faltered. "Oh, those kids." She glanced over her shoulder as though ensuring no one was listening. "They're just playing. It's nothing to worry about." Playing? I heard them last night. It sounded different. Her expression darkened. "They're just being kids. Nothing to worry about." She fidgeted more, her gaze drifting to the side. It felt like she wanted to say more, but stopped herself. I pressed on. "Could you tell me more about them? I was just wondering why I never see them during the day." "They like to come out at night. It's when they have the most fun." She paused, her voice lowering. "Just be careful, all right?" Alarm bells rang in my head. What did she mean by that? Careful? Why? Before she could answer, a voice interrupted us from the backyard. "Mom, can I go play outside?" A girl's voice chirped, sweet yet unsettling. The woman's face paled. "Just a moment, dear," she called out, her tension radiating through the air. She turned back to me, eyes wide with urgency. "You should really go home now. It's not a good time for visiting." I stepped back, chill creeping up my spine. "Okay, well, thanks." And just like that, the conversation ended as I shuffled away, glancing back as I walked toward my house. As I entered my home, my pulse raced. What had she meant by not a good time? Was there something about those kids that everyone was afraid to share? The laughter from last night replayed in my mind, fueling a sense of dread I couldn't shake. I sank onto my couch and grabbed my phone. I wanted to Google the neighborhood to see if others had experienced anything unusual. The screen lit up with information about the area, a peaceful suburb, great for families. But there was no mention of the kids or any strange occurrences. Then my heart dropped. I noticed a shadow moving outside my window. I hesitated and turned, catching a fleeting glimpse of a figure darting behind a tree. My breath hitched. It was too small to be an adult. Something was off. I needed to know what was truly happening in this neighborhood. I had come to uncover the truth, but now it felt like I was stumbling deeper into darkness. As I stared out into the yard, I knew I was about to discover something unexpected, something that could change everything. I spent the rest of the day in a daze. My mind kept replaying the neighbor's words and the shadow I had seen. It felt like I was trapped in a web of confusion and fear. I tried to do normal things, prepare dinner, fold laundry, but my thoughts kept drifting back to those kids. When night fell, the familiar laughter echoed through my window again. I couldn't ignore it this time. I grabbed my flashlight and quietly opened my front door. The cool air sent a shiver down my spine, and each step felt like a deliberate act of defiance against my instinct to retreat into the safety of my home. I moved toward the sound, heart pounding as it grew louder. It was darker now, shadows stretching across the yards. I aimed my flashlight in the direction of the noise, scanning the area. That's when I saw them. 3 kids huddled together near the tree line, their faces illuminated just enough for me to see their grins. One of the boys, slightly older than the others, spotted me. He waved, and his smile was so wide it looked unnatural, almost like he was trying too hard to appear friendly. "Hey, want to play with us?" he called out. "No, stay where you are." My voice trembled as I spoke, unexpectedly loud against the night's stillness. The girl, who couldn't have been more than 6, tilted her head. "Why not? We're having fun." There was something unsettling in her tone, a childlike innocence that felt out of place. "What kind of fun?" I asked, trying to control my voice. "We play games when the moon's out," the boy replied. "Come on, it's more fun with you." I hesitated. I wanted to run back to my house, lock the door, and forget this ever happened. But something kept me rooted in place. "What games?" My curiosity nagged at me. The other boy chimed in. "The best games, but you have to follow the rules." "What rules?" I felt a chill creeping up my spine. The kids exchanged glances. "You have to keep secrets," the girl whispered, her eyes narrowing, "and no one can know where we go." In that moment, I understood the urgency behind my neighbor's warning. Something about them felt wrong, and their insistence on secrets sent alarm bells ringing in my head. I backed away slowly, careful not to show fear. "I think I should go home now," I said, glancing over my shoulder. The boys pouted. "You're scared," one taunted. "No, I cut myself off, nerves scrambling my words. "I just don't want to play." Then it happened. The moment felt surreal as shadows swirled around the kids, and they suddenly lost their playful demeanor. Their smiles faded, and their eyes seemed to darken. "Then you'll regret it," the older boy said, his tone no longer playful but threatening. My heart raced as I turned and sprinted back toward my house. I could hear them laughing behind me, that haunting laughter echoing in the night. As I bolted through my front door and collapsed against it, I locked it tight and caught my breath. I didn't know what just happened, but I felt trapped in a nightmare. The laughter lingered in my ears. I was safe inside, but I was nowhere close to understanding what was going on with those kids, or what they truly wanted, and that unsettled me more than I could express. The next morning, I woke up with a knot in my stomach. The sun filtered through my curtains, but I felt no warmth. I spent the daylight hours in a haze, replaying the previous night's encounter in my mind. I needed answers. After a couple of cups of coffee, I decided to visit my neighbor, Mrs. Reynolds. She seemed normal enough, but had warned me to stay away from the kids. I hoped she could shed some light on the situation. I walked to her house, each step filled with reluctance. Mrs. Reynolds answered the door, her face briefly lighting up with recognition, though it quickly fell into a serious line. "You're okay?" she asked, her voice low. "I don't know," I replied. "It's about the kids from last night. I can't stop thinking about them." Her gaze drifted to the side as if she was considering how much to reveal. "They can be strange. Have you heard their laughter at odd hours?" I nodded. It felt wrong. "What do you know about them?" She hesitated. "There's a story about children who play near the woods late at night. They don't belong to anyone here. They might not even be alive. People whisper about it, but no one wants to believe." A chill ran through me. Was I hearing her right? I pressed her for more. "What do you mean, not alive?" Mrs. Reynolds looked uneasy. "Some say they're spirits. Kids who were lost long ago. They linger here, trying to lure others to join them. It's not safe." I backed away, feeling trapped in the conversation. "What do they want with me?" "They want friends," she said slowly. "And when they don't get what they want, things can turn dark." My mind raced. I thought about their threatening words from last night. I needed to get away, to distance myself from that area and the kids. I thanked her for sharing, but I could tell she was worried. As I turned to leave, I noticed something out of the corner of my eye, a shadow passing by her fenced yard. My heart skipped a beat. I stopped to look, squinting to see better. Nothing. Just trees rustling in the wind. "Are you okay?" Mrs. Reynolds asked, sensing my hesitation. "Yeah, I thought I saw something." I forced a smile, but my heart raced again as I walked back home. Every footfall felt heavier. I reached my front door, and just as I was about to open it, I froze. There was a low giggle coming from the bushes near my porch. I looked closer and saw the same 3 kids, their faces partially obscured by shadows. The older boy grinned, that same unnerving smile. "You didn't play with us last night. You know what that means." Suddenly, the air felt thick around me. They were close, too close. "Stay away," I yelled, but they only laughed. Before I could react, they darted back into the tree line, their laughter echoing in the air like a twisted melody. I stood paralyzed, fear gripping me. I realized I was running out of time. Whatever they were planning, it was only going to escalate. I had to act, and fast. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. The laughter faded, but it echoed in my mind. I stepped inside and locked the door, every sound outside amplified in my anxious thoughts. I needed a plan. First, I grabbed my phone and searched for any information about the children. Nothing, just urban legends and ghost stories. I felt stupid. I was losing my mind over nothing, or so I tried to convince myself. But the fear simmered beneath the surface, pulsing with each thought of those kids. Then I remembered my flashlight. If I was going to investigate, I needed light. I rummaged through my drawers until I found it. It felt flimsy in my hands, but it would have to do. As night fell, I steeled myself. I couldn't stay cooped up inside. Not now. I knew I had to confront whatever was happening. I grabbed a jacket and headed out, the chill of the night biting at my skin. The woods loomed in the distance, dark and daunting. I shuffled along the edge, squinting through the trees for any sign of the kids. The moonlight barely pierced through the thick foliage. My heartbeat quickened with every snap of a twig. Then I stopped. There it was again, the laughter. It seemed closer this time, like the children were beckoning me deeper into the woods. The flashlight trembled in my grip, but I pressed on, drawn by a mix of fear and morbid curiosity. When I reached a small clearing, I paused and scanned the area. The laughter stopped abruptly, leaving an unsettling silence. That's when I saw it. A makeshift swing hanging from a tree branch, swaying slightly as if someone had just left in a hurry. A chill crawled up my spine. "Hello?" I called out, my voice shaky. "Is anyone there?" Only silence answered. Just as I turned to leave, something caught my eye. A flash of white flitted between the trees. I aimed the flashlight in that direction, but it was gone. My heart raced. Was it one of the kids? Before I could process it, I heard whispers behind me. I spun around, but my flashlight beam caught only shadows. Panic surged through me. I didn't want to turn my back to whatever was happening. "Why don't you come play with us?" The voice was soft, almost melodic, but the sinister edge sent shivers through me. I didn't know what to do. My instinct screamed to run, but I forced myself to stay. "What do you want?" I shouted into the darkness, sounding less brave than I hoped. "Just a friend," the voice echoed, playful yet haunting. "One who won't leave us alone." I felt my legs go weak. This was no game. The laughter erupted again from the shadows, more sinister this time. I stumbled back, heart pounding against my ribs. I had to find a way out. I turned and bolted back toward where I thought the path was, but the woods felt disorienting. The laughter followed, twisting in the air, a dense fog of haunting calls that enveloped me. Then, in the chaos, I tripped over a root and fell to the ground. Pain shot through my ankle, and as I struggled to stand, my flashlight flickered and died, plunging me into darkness. I heard the voices whispering around me, and in that moment I realized I wasn't just being watched. I was surrounded. I scrambled to my feet, adrenaline surging through my veins despite the pain in my ankle. I could feel my heart hammering in my chest, the whispers swirling around me like a living thing. Were they children? Were they spirits? I couldn't tell. "Get away from me!" I yelled, hoping that maybe, just maybe, it would make them retreat. But instead, the laughter erupted again, like a chorus of unbothered children, wild and joyful. The darkness pressed in around me, thick and suffocating, and I stumbled further into the woods, desperately seeking a glimmer of familiarity. With my flashlight dead, the moon was my only source of light. I moved carefully, testing the ground with my good foot. Every rustle in the leaves sent my heart racing. I felt like prey, hunted by phantom laughter that punctuated the silence. The laughter seemed to be leading me somewhere, urging me deeper into their territory. Then I heard it. A sound that froze me in my tracks. A faint, rhythmic thumping, like feet shuffling on the ground. I struggled to gauge its direction, swiveling my head back and forth. Was it more children? Were they circling me? "Hello?" I called out again, less confident this time. I felt foolish, calling into the dark as if anything would answer. That's when I heard it. "Over here," a voice called, bright and cheerful. It felt wrong, unnatural. It came from behind a thicket of bushes nearby. I hesitated, fighting the urge to run. "Who are you?" I shouted back, striving for an edge of authority. I stepped toward the bushes, needing to know what I was dealing with. Suddenly, a face peeked out. A young boy with wild, unkempt hair and pale skin that seemed to reflect the moonlight. "Come play," he beckoned, a mischievous glint in his eyes. It felt wrong, framed by the shadows and loneliness of the woods. "No way," I replied more firmly. "Where is everyone? What do you want?" The boy's smile vanished, replaced by a blank expression. "We want to play. It's more fun when you're scared," he said matter-of-factly, almost like he was stating a truth I refused to accept. A chill gripped my spine. I needed to leave. Just then, from the corner of my eye, I noticed movement. Shadows flitted behind the boy, dozens of small figures materializing from the dark. They moved closer, giggling and whispering, their voices a high-pitched cacophony. "Come," they urged, almost in unison, their intentions disturbing. I stepped back, heart racing. The boy reached out, his hands stretched toward me, fingers curling in a way that sent icy dread coursing through my veins. "Join us," he said softly, a plea mixed with a threat. I turned and ran, weaving through the trees, branches scratching at my skin. The laughter mingled with shrieks of delight as they followed. My ankle throbbed, but I pushed through the pain, desperation replacing fear. As I broke onto a wider path, I could finally see hope, a faint light in the distance. I sprinted toward it, the noise growing fainter behind me. Just as I thought I might escape, I stumbled and fell again. I could feel them closing in. Before I could rise, I caught a glimpse of something glinting in the dirt. My breath hitched. It was a child's toy, a small, rusted key. I turned it over in my fingers, heart pounding as realization hit me. They were all connected to this, whatever was happening. I had to figure it out. I had to confront it. Whatever waited in the shadows was still out there, and now I had something they clearly wanted. I gripped the key tightly, its cool metal grounding me in the chaos surrounding my thoughts. The woods felt alive, the whispers drawing closer again, the laughter echoing like a distant taunt. I needed to move, but fear rooted me in place for a moment longer as I scanned the area. In the dim light, I could see twisted trees and tangled underbrush. I took a deep breath, willing my body to act. I stood up gingerly, testing my ankle. Pain shot through me, but I managed to hobble down the path toward the light. With every step, the laughter faded, only to be replaced by an unsettling silence. I was alone now, or at least I hoped I was. The path led to a clearing. There in the center was an old play structure, a rusted swing set swaying slightly in the breeze, its chains creaking like ghostly whispers. Heart pounding, I felt a mix of fear and curiosity. The swings danced as if someone had just gotten up from them. I approached cautiously, the key in my pocket weighing heavily against my thigh. "Why is this here?" I muttered to myself, wondering who had played here before. The more I looked, the more eerie it felt. The ground was littered with worn-out toys, their colors faded and grimy. A broken doll lay on the ground, one eye missing, its gaze unsettlingly fixed on me. A sound pierced the stillness, soft giggles drifting through the air. My heart flipped. I turned on instinct, scanning the shadows around the clearing. Was it them again? The children. I felt the prickle of their presence like static on my skin. "Hello?" I shouted, my voice cracking slightly. No answer came, just the rustle of leaves and that soft laughter echoing from behind the trees. It felt like they were all around me, watching, waiting. I gripped the key tighter, suddenly convinced it was the only thing they wanted. Then I noticed a small door at the base of the play structure, barely visible beneath the overgrown weeds. It was just big enough for a child to squeeze through. My heart raced as I approached it. What lay inside? Should I open it? Before I could decide, the air shifted. The laughter stopped. A heavy silence replaced it, and in that moment I felt trapped, pinned down by invisible eyes. I crouched beside the door, unable to resist the pull of curiosity. My hands trembled as I reached toward the handle. That's when I saw it. A lock in the door, old and rusty, waiting for something that matched my key. I hesitated, knowing the implications of turning it. Another giggle rang out, louder this time, dangerously close. Panic surged through me. "Leave me alone," I shouted instinctively, backing away from the door. But the haunting laughter began again, now accompanied by heavy footsteps, the ground vibrating with their movement. I had to make a choice. The shadows were closing in, the laughter kindling a primal fear inside me. Should I open the door, or run back into the dark woods? I felt the weight of the key as I turned from the door, glancing back only to catch a glimpse of those pale faces emerging from the shadows, smiles widening. I sprinted back to the woods, my heart racing, but this time I knew I could not run forever. not without uncovering the truth behind that play structure and the secrets hidden in these woods. As the laughter followed me, I could only hope the key would somehow lead to answers before it was too late. I stumbled through the tangled underbrush, branches whipping at my arms. The laughter still echoed in my ears, a dissonant tune that haunted me with every hurried breath. I needed to think, to regroup, but panic clawed at my chest. The clearing was behind me now, but it felt like the children's eyes were still watching from the shadows. My ankle throbbed, and each step sent jolts of pain shooting through my leg. I had to stop. I ducked beneath a low-hanging branch, leaning against a tree trunk. Its rough bark pressed into my back, grounding me, reminding me I was real. I took a deep, shaky breath and fished the key from my pocket, staring at it in the dim light. There had to be a reason I found it. The laughter faded, replaced by an unsettling stillness. Just when I thought I might be alone, a flicker of movement caught my eye. I turned my head to find a figure standing a few yards away, just beyond the tree line. It was a child, but not one of the laughing ones. This one was still staring at me with wide, dark eyes. "Hey," I shouted, my voice cracking again. "Are you okay?" The child didn't respond. He just stood there, his hair tousled and clothes tattered, like a ghost from another time. My heart raced, caught between curiosity and fear. Should I approach him? There was a magnetic pull, as if I had to see if he was real. But what if he led me back to the others? I took a cautious step forward. "Do you know where you are?" He blinked slowly but didn't move. The forest seemed to hold its breath, the air thick with tension. I felt isolated, like the two of us were suspended in time, surrounded by an unseen audience waiting for something to happen. Then, unexpectedly, he smiled. It was a strange, unsettling smile, one that didn't reach his eyes. Suddenly, he turned and darted into the trees. Instinct kicked in, and I chased after him. Maybe he could help me understand what was happening. I pushed through the underbrush, branches tearing at my clothes. I could hear footsteps, not just mine, but faint echoes close behind. They sounded like he wasn't alone. I yanked my foot free from a tangle of roots and stumbled, bracing myself against a tree to stay upright. The boy led me deeper into the woods until the trees grew denser. A part of me screamed to stop, to turn around and escape while I could. But there was another part, a darker curiosity that urged me on. I had to know if he had information. He suddenly stopped ahead of me, and when I caught up, I felt a chill run down my spine. He pointed toward a rickety old fence that appeared through the trees. Beyond it, I could see what looked like a small, abandoned house. It lurked there, almost hidden, vines creeping up its sides like skeletal fingers. I approached cautiously. "Is that your home?" The child only stared, his face expressionless, making my skin crawl. Just then I heard laughter again, closer this time, echoing around me. Panic surged within me as I realized I was not alone. I needed to get out, but what if the key fit something here? Everything inside me screamed to run, yet I felt drawn to the house, a secret waiting to be uncovered. What was in there? Then, from behind the trees, shapes began to emerge. Figures of children, smirking and weaving between the trees. I turned back to the boy, but before I could ask, he vanished into the shadows, leaving me staring at the approaching forms, my heart racing faster than ever. What did they want from me now? I took a step back, torn between fear and the need to uncover the truth about this strange neighborhood and the children that haunted it. As the shadows danced around me, I could see them clearly now. Those same 3 children from before, their eyes glimmering with mischief. Their laughter twisted into an echo, sending a chill rippling down my spine. "Play with us," the older boy called out, stepping forward with a grin that felt more like a snare than an invitation. I shook my head, my instincts screaming at me to run, but I hesitated. They were children, despite the strange aura surrounding them, weren't they? "What do you want?" I shouted, trying to sound braver than I felt. But the echo of my voice returned to me, hollow and mocking against the weight of their silence. They paused for a moment, the moonlight illuminating their features. The youngest girl tilted her head, her innocent look contrasting sharply with the tension in the air. "You need to play," she said softly, as if repeating something someone had told her. "Come join us," the boy urged again, stepping closer. "We don't want to scare you." But I could see the glint in their eyes. It was unyielding and full of something I couldn't quite place. I knew they weren't telling the truth, and if I succumbed to whatever their fun meant, I might lose everything my new life promised. "I'm going home," I said firmly. "You can't make me stay." As I turned to flee, I felt a rush of wind pass by me, and in a heartbeat, the children were blocking my path. I felt that surge of panic again. These weren't just kids. They were connected to something dark. "You can't leave," the older boy said, his voice lowering ominously. "You belong here now." "Why?" I demanded. "Because you heard us," the boy replied almost wistfully. "We only want someone to play with." I felt the ground beneath me shift as I stumbled backward, catching my balance just in time. "I'm not afraid of you," I yelled, driving the words out as if they could somehow grant me power over the situation. A silence hung in the air for a moment, thick enough to suffocate me. Then, with a suddenness that took me by surprise, the children erupted into laughter. It was infectious at first, buoyant even, but something twisted within it, a deeper, darker undertone that cut through me. "What did you do?" I asked, a seed of realization sprouting in my mind, but I couldn't finish the thought, the children's laughter ringing in my ears too loud. "Do you want to know?" asked the girl, her head bobbing with a childlike excitement. "Our secret?" I gulped. I felt heat rising in me. "Stop. Just tell me what's going on," I shouted, desperate to escape their spell. And then they stopped, suddenly deadly serious. "You have to decide. You heard our secrets. You have to keep them." What did they mean by that? As my blood ran cold, I was torn between running and staying to learn more. What kind of secrets were they keeping, more than just what was happening in this neighborhood? "I don't want to keep anything," I stammered, shifting back toward the path I had come from. "I don't want any part of this." But as I turned around, the world around me shifted. The trees seemed to bend and sway. The path pulled away, leaving me standing before the play structure instead. My breath caught as the laughter wrapped tighter around me. "What happens if I don't?" I asked, voice trembling. "You'll regret it," the boy teased, his smile splitting his face. In that moment I realized they didn't just want a playmate. They wanted something else, something darker. All my instincts screamed at me to run. I needed to escape before whatever they were planning closed in around me. In a sudden rush, I sprinted past them, hearing their laughter chase after me, a sinister echo. My legs burned as I pushed forward, the path dark and the moonlight dimming around me. Suddenly, the terrain shifted again. I burst through the trees into the clearing and dashed towards the little door of the play structure, hoping the key might somehow protect me. My heart raced. Should I risk unlocking their secrets? Before I could decide, the laughter erupted once more, this time echoing in my ears, pushing me further into panic. My fingers trembled as I fumbled for the key, the metal cold against my palm. I reached the door, breathing hard, and paused. Was I about to walk into prison or freedom? I couldn't shake the feeling that I was already too late. Taking a deep breath, I locked eyes with the children, now clumped together, eyes sharp and hungry. I turned the key in the lock. What lay beyond would be my choice. What happened next felt like an explosion in my chest. The handle turned, and the door creaked open. Darkness swallowed everything beyond. For a split second, I had to confront the yawning chasm of uncertainty, my decision that could flip my world upside down, before the voices began to fade. And all at once, everything was silent. It was just me, alone, standing at the threshold of a truth that could change everything. Then came the whispers. Were they inviting me in or warning me? I took a step forward, heart racing, pulse thundering, and felt the weight of an eternity in my hands. I stepped inside, where light and dark battled for dominance, the laughter gone, leaving space only for questions I feared would haunt me forever. And as the door swayed shut behind me, all I could think was, what have I done?